Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. Let's talk boxing. Wow, man. Chris Eubank Jr. Take a bow, son. Listen, to come through what he's come through psychologically, the trauma over the last 18 months in his life, and to put on a display like that. Wow. Listen, I don't care whether you're a fan of Liam Smith's, whether you're a fan of Chris Eubank Jr.'s, you've got to take your hat off to this guy. Now, we'll talk about the way the fight played out because Chris Eubank did all the things we said he needed to do in the preview if he was going to win this fight, and Liam Smith didn't do any of the things he needed to do in order to win this fight. There was a situation where he rolled his ankle in round 2, and then again in round 3 he rolled the left ankle followed by the right. I noticed them both in real time. Only Liam Smith truly knows whether his inability to pull off the things he needed to pull off were down to some sort of injury. But what I will say is this: the camera went to the corner on numerous occasions, and he was asked on more than one occasion, "Are you okay?" And he had this sort of vacant look on his face where he looked down and he'd delay and then he'd just go, yeah. To me, it looked more like concussion than an injury. He didn't ever say, at least as far as I can tell, I didn't hear him say, "I've hurt my ankle, I can't close the range." Let's talk about what it is that played out, what we spoke about in the preview as well. We said in the preview that Eubank had the ability to be able to exploit the guard of Liam Smith, and that he was able to do it in the first fight as well. And he would be able to do this in this fight, particularly early on. Liam Smith comes in with that high guard, and he tends to use his legs to change range, to close range, and change levels. Now, when you're standing upright and you've got that high guard, if Eubank, who's slightly taller, is going to shoot a right hand, it's in line with the gloves. So it's hard to get through when it comes to Liam Smith. But when he comes down, when he dips down at the legs, imagine the right hand's coming from here. If I dip down, it now creates that opening above the guard. Do you understand? So what was happening is, as he was coming down, he was shooting that right hand down and he was finding the opening. He was timing it. Additionally to that, when he comes down and leans in, which is another thing Liam Smith likes to do, we explained in the preview that it would leave the opening for the hook around the guard. Again, he landed that consistently. The third shot that we were talking about being vital to him with that high guard is the uppercut, because as he's standing square on, he'll slip just to the outside of the guard of the opponent. And he doesn't just slip on the outside, he comes forward. So he imagine you've got that high guard, right? I'm in this position here. His head will come right next to my own glove. He's using my glove as his opponent to hide, and from there, as he's on the outside, he slips the uppercut on the inside. He's got the agility to do that. So as I'm here in this high guard and Eubank's head is here in a safe place, the uppercut still comes through the middle, and if I then turn to try and throw a shot, he knows it's coming. He can lower the level, he can roll under, he could pull back, he could do a variety of things. Now, the other thing we spoke about as being essential to Eubank if he was going to have success would be that he'd have to show a clinch game, something he hasn't really shown at a high level up to now. Now, maybe a lot of people are going to give Bomac credit for that. I don't know if it's Bomac. On the night, Bomac's instructions were pretty basic. Now, that could just be because he didn't really need to give instructions, but he was just saying all night, jab, you're doing great, just keep jabbing, you're doing great. It was very basic stuff, but Eubank knew every single time he's going to come in and close that range, I know I need to tie him up. He also created a little ring within the ring. Another thing we spoke about as being necessary in the preview. Don't let your back go up into the ropes. If you do, change the level, tie up. He wasn't always changing the level to tie up. Rather than coming with underhooks, he was getting his arms over Liam Smith and pulling him in. Regardless of his methodology, he would be tying him up. When he had him in the clinch, Liam Smith's looking to throw those right hands over the top. What was he doing? He had a great understanding of leverage. Now, a lot of people think a clinch game is just, let me be big and strong and hold someone. That's not what a clinch game is. The inside fighting is very technical. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to inside fighting. I love it. It's my thing. I love to analyze it. People don't really understand inside fighting to an excessive degree, to be honest with you. They think it's just basic. When he's holding Liam Smith and he's leant to one side and he knows, right, I'm going to feel Liam Smith's leverage change. As he's going to load up that right hand, I'm literally going to pull him. I'm going to roll with him so that as he tries to roll it, I'm getting him off balance that he can't throw that shot. When he then shifts his weight onto that opposite foot to come up with something from that side, again, I'm going to roll, keeping my head behind his shoulder. From those positions as well, as he launches that right hand, he's opened up. So from there, I can roll, come back, and then throw an uppercut through the pipe. Throw these little short shots. He was fantastic tonight, Chris Eubank Jr. arguably the best performance of his career. In fact, I say arguably. I can't think of a performance where he was better from a technical and tactical perspective. Now, let's talk about Liam Smith. From his perspective, post-fight, he has said that he felt very, very flat. He did say that he did roll his ankle, but that he's got dodgy ankles anyway, that when he was trying to move his feet, they wouldn't move with him, essentially. When he would try to step back, he would roll them, and that from the off, he looked flat. And I can't argue with that assessment. He did look flat. He did say that he's struggled with the weight. That may very well be true as well. That's part of boxing, right? You can't really take anything away from Chris Eubank. But in the same way that Eubank may have had problems making the weight in the first fight, Liam Smith may have had problems with the weight in this fight. He said that he had to lose 3 stone after picking up the injury to then catch up with the fight. He never should have been in a position where he put that much weight on, to be honest with you. So again, he only has himself to blame. But the reason I do understand what he's saying about struggling with the weight and looking flat is because from the very first round, he wasn't really coming in to close the range. We spoke in the preview about how Chris Eubank likes to take portions of rounds off. He fights in bursts, and you saw it again tonight. Some blistering combinations, then he goes for a walk. He trash talks a little bit. He's a little bit flashy, showing different looks, just to buy himself time and to breathe. In the 5th round, he let go of a vicious combination. And for the rest of the 5th round, he stopped throwing punches. And he even got clipped with a right hand, I believe it was, where he sort of felt it. You saw there was a bit of a delay there. But Smith was not able to jump on him. Now, it could be that by the point of the 5th round, he'd accrued so much damage, he was so battered, that he couldn't then get through the gears. But we've spoken about Liam Smith being a slow starter in the past, taking big shots in the past, and then starting to come on strong. He wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to close that range. His entry point was slow. He wasn't giving different looks, that thing that he does where he changes the levels consistently to offer that threat, the short shots into the body. That wasn't coming. Was it because he was gun shy because of the beating he took early? Or was it because he was flat from the off? He was flat. I think it was a bit of both. He was flat from the off. But Eubank was also landing some big shots. Now, in terms of Liam Smith struggling at 160, like I said, it's very possible. But to be in that position where you've come up from 154, is it a lack of professionalism? Did he underestimate Chris Eubank? Because one of the things I'll say is that he was seemingly looking for one big shot. In other words, the fact that he knocked Eubank out in brutal fashion in the first fight early may have put it in his mind that I only need to get inside once, land a crisp combination, and I'm going to take him out. And if you're preparing for that mentally, rather than thinking, okay, I've got to be in this for the long slog, I've got to make him work, I've got to put him in a position where he's uncomfortable and he starts to blow. If that's the case, then you're not really going to be in a position where you're investing for later in the fight. It's kind of like the Fraser Clark-Dave Allen fight that occurred earlier in the night. We know that Fraser Clark has stamina issues, but Dave Allen wasn't really doing enough early in the fight to make Fraser Clark work so that he would tire for you to take him out late. He was too passive. By the same token, Liam Smith looked far too passive and Eubank looked far too sharp tonight. Blistering performance from Chris Eubank Jr. The only things I didn't like is that at the end of the fight, he ended up saying he wanted to fight Kell Brook and Conor Benn. Listen, if that he did then go on to mention Gennady Golovkin afterwards, but those were the first 2 he thought about. And that worries me a little bit because you're at a certain age now, Chris, whereby, let's face it, I get it. You want those big money fights. I can't really blame him for that. I understand it. But the middleweight division at the moment is not exactly riding high on a crest of a wave. Gennady Golovkin is aging. He's retired, a lot of people are saying, although he's not formally announced it. You've got Alim Kanuli, who many rate highly. He's yet to take on a big test. It seems wide open in there. Carlos Adames is in there. Maybe you've got an opportunity to finally go and claim yourself a world title. You know, maybe he wants to age out Golovkin a little bit more. Who knows? But still, maybe this is your moment to go for it. If you lose to Golovkin, you lose to Erislandy Lara, for instance. Lara's another one who's a champion. It seems like he's going to be fighting Danny Garcia in a fight that nobody wants to see. But if you lose to one of those guys, you've still got the Conor Benn fight for you. Do you see what I'm saying? So for me, I believe Eubank should go for a middleweight title now. Cash in on the momentum that you have. I have no doubt that these two, if Liam Smith does not retire, could meet again. It's 1-1. Liam Smith made that point in the build-up to this fight. It would be 1-1. It would be, you know, they'd want that final deciding fight. Who knows? I think that could come, but that will come down the line if Liam Smith remains active. They'll both find their excuses for their defeats. Eubank can say, I didn't make the weight properly the first time around, even though he denied it this on the night tonight. Or an elbow landed. Liam Smith's going to turn around and say, potentially down the line, I rolled my feet tonight, I didn't make the weight properly. There could be a decider down the line. That would be a big money fight for Chris Eubank and Liam Smith as well. Let me know what you think, ladies and gents, about the way the fight played out tonight. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.